Hello, and welcome back to the Nioxus Learning Channel. In this solution class, we're going to be looking at a new application that we've built at Nioxus and a function that lots of people ask about when getting started with building their Nioxus solutions. The application is the medicine cabinet. This is a personal health and fitness tracking tool that you can use to keep track of your prescriptions, your dosages, your medical appointments. And the feature function that we're going to be looking at is integrated and automated email. How we can integrate and connect our Nioxus solutions to our email application, our email engine, and just the overall strategic process of communicating through electronic mail. It's easy, it's powerful, lots of people ask about it, and we're going to talk about it in this Nioxus learning class. So let's go ahead and get started. As I said, this is an applet that we've built. It's something you can download from the member portal at nioxus.com. That's www.nioxus.com. Go ahead and get your membership and you can download this template. It is unlocked, it's available for you to use, and you can check out all of the code and all of the examples. And if you like, follow along with this class right now. First, let's take a look at how this application works and what it does, and then let's dive into a couple of different ways that we've integrated email, both manual and automated email function, into the medicine cabinet solution. The medicine cabinet starts first with the contact. Now, in this case, the contact is us. We are using this application to keep track of our own medical processes, appointments, procedures, physical requirements, as I said, prescriptions and dosages, things like that. So we have this basic setup screen where you can track all of your basic information. If you click on the hamburger menu, that opens up some additional features where you can note your contact name, the relationship for your emergency contact, phone numbers, email information, and then of course any instant messenger accounts, social network profiles, or internet URLs that you use or with which you are associated. This application is not only good for people who want to track their own medicinal and medical histories and routines, but it's also great for someone who looks after someone else. If you have a member of the family or an elderly friend or someone who is in your care and you want to make sure that they're taking their medications on time, they're not missing or skipping dosages, that their prescriptions are not running out or expiring, this is a great solution that you can use. So once we've defined ourselves as the patient, and I'm going to go ahead and close up that added detail there, now we have the ability to go in and define the medications that we take. We see here in this medications menu that we can define the drug brand name, whether it's a brand, a generic, or an experimental. And if it is a generic, we can track the generic name, the experimental name, and the brand name. We can indicate who we email to get the prescription refilled and who we email to get the prescription filled. So if the prescription expires, we need to reach out to the prescribing physician to get a new prescription. If we just need a refill on an existing prescription, I'm going to show you how we've integrated an email function right into this Nioxus database that literally with the click of a button, the email gets sent and the prescription is taken care of. We can track notes in terms of when the prescription is written, when it expired. We can indicate the doctor that prescribed this particular medication. Most importantly, where do we get this medication? And I'm going to change that just to say the corner pharmacy. And we can also track the duration, and we can set this up. Do we get this daily, weekly, monthly? Is it an annual prescription? All of that basic information. You'll note that we can track not only the medications that we take, but the doctors who have prescribed them. And here we see a list of different MDs and DOs and dentists and nurse practitioners and even PhDs who may be prescribing medications on our behalf. So we not only can keep track of our medical history, our medication history, but also keep in touch with the people that provide us with the prescriptions for these medications. There's a screen here where we can track our own physical therapy, what we did, how long we did it, when we did it. We also can track appointments with our doctors, our physical therapists, our nurses, our dentists. All of this is built into this system, so at any time we can log in, or someone could log in on our behalf and make sure that we're taking the right medications at the right time, that our prescriptions are up to date, and even things like keeping track of the different conditions that we may be dealing with, whether it's asthma or bronchitis, maybe we have severe headaches, or maybe it's arthritis. All of this is kept and maintained here. And again, this is great if you're keeping track of your own medical history, but it's also great if you're responsible for the care and oversight of someone who may need a little bit of assistance. The other good thing about this is if you are in charge of or responsible for someone else's medical or pharmaceutical needs, if for any reason they were to become incapacitated or unable to answer questions on their own, all of their information would be right here in this database. What conditions they deal with, the medications they take, when they take those medications, who prescribed the medications, all of their different healthcare providers, when their next doctor's appointment is, their entire medical history, and their physical therapy history. So this medicine cabinet application, this is one of the new ones that we've built. It is in our member portal, and it's a really nice way to automate and simplify something that all of us probably have to deal with on a recurring basis. Because our medical activities and our medicinal requirements are kind of connected, are linked with so many other people. The doctor who prescribes the medication, the doctor we go to see for follow-up appointments so we can continue to be on the right medications, the pharmacist who fulfills the prescription, who provides us with the medication, and maybe the son or the daughter or the friend or the spouse that looks in on us periodically to make sure we're getting our medications and taking our medications. Because so many different people are connected to one's medical and medicinal routine, we've built a variety of email functions into this application to make it easier and in some cases fully automatic to communicate with those individuals. Let's start with the very basics and take a look at how email works within the Nioxus solution platform. And then we'll look at a couple things we've done where we got a little bit fancy with our email integration. I'm going to start right here with the email menu. And this allows us to create a new email or take a look at our archived emails. I'm going to go ahead and click the button to create a new email, which brings up our email inbox, and I'm going to click the plus sign to create a new email and to display the new email manager. This works like any other email engine or email client that you would use, whether you're on an Apple, an Android, a Windows device, a phone, a tablet, a desktop, or a laptop. This works like every other email system you've seen. You type in the name of the recipient, and I'll just use my own email address, and who we want to copy, and I'll put in the individual that we're CCing on this email. Who should they reply to? The subject of the email, need new heating pad. We can go ahead and type out the body of the email with all sorts of details, and we can underline and bold and have bulleted and numbered lists, as you see with our rich text editor. And we can go in and we can even attach things to the email. So I'm going to click on the attachment section, go out to my desktop, and we'll go ahead and attach a copy of our 4 easy steps for getting started with Nioxus. This happens to be a PDF, and I can see the attachment right there. When we click this button, the email gets sent, And then automatically we get the message noting the email was sent, and it is now stored in our email archive where we can see the emails that we have processed. Very simple, very basic. Let's go back and look at how we did that. I, again, am going to bring up the email manager, click on the plus sign to bring up a new email. Obviously, we had to collect the basic information to get started. Who is the recipient? This is just a text field. Who are we copying? Who should they reply to? The subject. These are all simple, single-line text fields. The body of the email that we see here is obviously a rich text field, and we can see that right here. And by using rich text, we have the ability to go in and format the text to give it some visual look, whether it's a header like that, or we want to create a numbered list of this, that, and the other. And we can go ahead and make that a numbered list by doing that, or a bulleted list. These are all capabilities that are built into the rich text field. And this, of course, is just an image field. We've done nothing special. We just put an image field right here that allows us to attach anything: a JPEG, a video, a movie file, a PDF, a sound file, or a WAV file. Anything we want, we simply go into this image, click on it, it opens up our browser, and we can look on our local computer for attachments that we want to include with the email. This is all stuff that you've used many, many times before. The magic happens when we click this button. This button has some very special code assigned to it. What it does is as follows. First, we look at an if-then loop to see if there is a recipient. If there is a recipient, if the recipient field is not blank, we then start the processing engine for email. If there is no recipient, we post this alert. You can't send an email until you have defined who you're sending it to. Let's assume we have filled out the email address of the person we want to receive this particular message. So we're going to go here. Again, there's going to be one more check, one more test, one more if to make sure that the subject line is not empty. This system, the way we've built it, forces you, of course, to have the email of the recipient and a subject line. Assuming you pass both of these tests, the recipient field is not blank, the subject field is not blank, we then get into this code block, and this is where the email magic happens. This is how we can send an email at the click of a button, or even with automated triggers. The code is always the same. So let's look very closely at this code. It starts, and syntax matters. The braces, you see a brace here, that's different from a parenthesis. Make sure that your commas and your semicolons don't get confused. Make sure that if it's text, you have it in double quotes. If it is a field, you're referring to it in single quotes. And make sure that you differentiate between these parentheses that we are very used to working with and these braces that up until now we really haven't done a whole lot with. So the syntax matters. We use the function send email with the E in email capitalized, and we open a code block. We open the code block here with the open parenthesis. We close it down here with the close parenthesis. Inside this code block are a number of keywords, and each keyword is separated from its value with a colon. From, to, CC, who to reply to, the subject of the email, the body or text of the email, and then we have some little HTML magic that happens right here to actually attach anything that we want to have connected or attached or paperclipped to this email. These keywords are critical. They must be in this order, they must be lowercase, and as always, they must be spelled correctly. The keyword is followed by a full colon, or what we sometimes refer to as a stack, as opposed to a semicolon or a semi-stack. And then we have the information that we are using to fill in those fields. So remember, we created a field, a text field called recipient. This is the reference to that field. This is coming from us. So we have used one of the user identification formulas or functions built into the Niox language called user email. There is no parameter required for this. And what the user email function does is it returns to Niox the email address we used when we signed into our Niox account. That's us. We are the sender of the email. We are who the email is coming from. Who's it going to? We see the keyword to, with the colon. It is going to the email that is in the field called recipient. It is being CC'd or carbon copied to the email that is in the text field called copy. And if the recipient or CC receiver want to reply to the email, we have the option to define a different email address for them to reply to. Finally, we have the subject of the email, and that is captured in that rich text field called subject. We have then this HTML statement right here that says attach to the email body, the field that is the email body, we have the keyword attachments, and then this attachment is the name of the image field that contains the asset, the image, the video, the PDF, the spreadsheet or Word document that we want to attach to this particular transmission, this email or electronic message. This block of code is all we need to integrate the email function into any Niox solution that we build. We open the block with send email, and then we open the block with the left parenthesis. Because this is embedded code, we use a left brace. We have our lines of code. The right brace closes the code. The right parenthesis closes the code block. And then we have the semicolon, which we know that we use in Niox to indicate the end of the line. The rest of this code on lines 17 through 21 is where we take this email message or the contents, the fields that make up the email message, and save them into an archive table. Here we see that we create a variable called arch email or archive the email. We create a new record in the archive email table. And then we subsequently save this email message content into that archive table. So it's a very simple, very basic mechanism where we can go in, manually create the content of an email. Who's it from? Who's it to? What's the topic? What's the body? Any attachments? And when we click the button, the clicking of the button is the trigger that actuates or affects the execution of this code block. What you see highlighted on your screen right now is required. Now, you don't necessarily have to CC anybody. You don't necessarily have to have a reply to, but you must have a from, a to, a subject, a text, and of course, your attachments are optional. Using this code block, and again, if you download this application from the Nioxus portal, you can literally copy and paste this right into your Niox applications and solutions. This code block, lines 7 through 16, these 9 lines of code are all you need to integrate the email operation or the email function into your Nioxus solution. And it doesn't matter what your email engine or your email client is, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Apple Mail, whether it's Gmail, whether it's AOL, whatever you use for email, Nioxus will integrate it with it. And when you pull the trigger, or in this case, click the button to send the email, and I'll go ahead right here and say, let's see, send to Andy at nioxus.com, and this is the subject. When I click this button, it runs that block of code, sends the email, puts up a dialog box telling me, or an alert telling me that the email has been sent, and then archives it away for me. That is a manual integrated email engine. When we talk about integrating the email engine, again, to be clear, the email engine is this right here. You need to set up fields to capture the recipient, anyone that you might want to CC or BCC, the subject, the body of your message, and optionally any attachments. Once you have set up those fields, and these are just simple text fields, an image field for the attachment, then use these 9 lines of code exactly as you see them here, replacing these field names with the names of the fields you have set up in your solution, and that's all there is to it. You now have a fully integrated email function built right in to your Nioxus solution. As I said, though, this is a manual email function. We can do much, much more. Those 9 lines of code, that email engine, as I referred to it, it has not even begun to do all of the things that it can do for us. Let's move on. Now that we've seen this manual email operation, let's look at some ways that we can automate the email process, the email function. We can automate its usage inside of our Nioxus solutions. Let's start with the medication itself. I'm going to go into Edsel Ford's record, and again, I'm still in administrative mode. We could turn that off if we need to. I'm going to go into Edsel Ford's record, and let's pretend for a moment that I am Mr. Ford's wife. I'm Eleanor Ford, the wife of Edsel Ford, and I'm taking care of him. So it's my responsibility to make sure that his prescriptions are up to date, that they have been properly filled, and that he is taking his medication. So I would go in and I would look at this, and I would see that he has been prescribed a particular medication. He has been prescribed to take that medication 1 pill every 5, well, that doesn't seem right. Let's make that every 5 days. I don't think every 5 minutes is probably what the doctor had in mind. This gets refilled at the corner pharmacy. It was written on 1/1, and it expires on 12/31. Okay? So now, what I want to do is, let's pretend it is late in December. We know this prescription expires on 12/31. Let's go in and see how we can automate the process of sending an email to the doctor requesting a refill or a rescript on the prescription itself. Let's first look at what we have built into our system. We know the medications we take, and we know the doctors or the healthcare providers who prescribe them. And we've got all of these doctors set up. We'll use my favorite doctor, Dr. Seuss. We know Dr. Seuss's email address, and that's crucial. We know he is an MD, but he could be any kind of a care practitioner. And we have a first and last name. This care provider, this doctor, is related to, is linked to us by virtue of the medication he has prescribed. So let's go back into our record. Let's go back into this medication, and let's pretend that it is time now for us to request a new prescription. We see 2 request options: request a new prescription, request a prescription refill. The prescription request goes to my doctor at the hospital. The prescription refill goes to the pharmacy at the mall. Watch what happens when I click this button. This is a simple email field. It is a smart field, which means it will act on its own content. Email fields contain email addresses, and we act on an email address by sending a delivery, a message to that address. And the sending is very simple. We simply click the envelope icon, and here we go. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down so I can bring this screen front and center. We have an email that's already been addressed to my doctor at the hospital. The subject is a prescription refill request from your patient, Etzel Ford. It is coming from me, and it has already filled in this concatenated string of text. I am a patient of, now it doesn't have the doctor's name in there, we need to fill that in. I am a patient of, and the doctor's name should drop in, and I am in need of a refill of my prescription for this particular medication. I would appreciate if the refill could be called into the corner pharmacy, and if we had a phone number for the corner pharmacy in our system, that would have already been dropped in here, and all we have to do is click send. And in fact, we could have automated the sending process also. We simply are using this field to create the email, and then we can click the send button to send it. How did we do this? Well, we used a smart field. A moment ago, you saw me create a trigger by virtue of a button and attach those 9 very important lines of code, what we called the email engine, to that button. Here we're approaching the integrated email, and in this case, the automated email solution, from a different perspective. We're not using a trigger, we are using a smart field. In this case, we are using an email field, and this email field has some very special parameters, and how we use those parameters is going to determine what happens and what the contents of the message is when we click this smart icon. So without any further ado, let's go in and look at these parameters and see how they allow us to use email in a new way to enhance and integrate our Nioxus solutions. In administrative mode, I'm selecting this email field, and we already see that a couple key parameters have been filled out, notably the subject and the body parameters. The other parameters we have are the ones that we are used to in terms of pop-up, hover help, or tooltips. We have the trigger and the visibility and visibility, but the parameters that are unique to the email field and new in terms of our discussions here at the Nioxus Learning Channel are these 2 parameters here, the subject field and the body field. Let's look at the subject first. What we have here in the subject and in the body is the ability to use the formula editor, and we're going to make hefty use of the concatenation capabilities of Nioxus. We can use the function editor to create long strings of text that are the combination of hard-coded text and the variable contents or the dynamic changing contents of data fields in our database tables. Let's look at an example. Here we see a formula that begins with this hard-coded text string. This is a prescription refill request from, there is a trailing space, and then we close this hard text string with a double quotation. We then add to that the first name, a hard-coded space, and the last name. But whose first name and last name is it? It's ours. Remember, we are the contact. We are the patient, and we are using this database on our behalf, or on behalf maybe of someone for whom we have oversight and care responsibilities. So this concatenated combination of hard-coded text and fields is a prescription refill request from Andy Marks with a hard-coded space between the first and the last name. This is the subject of the email. Now, the body is also a formula. When you click on the body, you'll see the gear present itself. Click on the gear. Just if you weren't noticing, when I was up here in the subject field, I had a gear that allowed me to access the formula editor. Now I'm going to go here into the body, and I'm going to click on the gear to bring up this formula editor. And let's go through piece by piece and see what we have. We have a hard-coded text string that says, I am a patient of, with a space trailing after the F in of. We add to that the first name, a hard-coded space, and the last name of the individual who prescribed this particular medication. How did we get this field? Very easy. We went to medications and drilled down into the medications table. And then within medications, we went to the prescribed by field. This is a linked field. We know this because of the incoming arrow, the right pointing arrow. We drilled down into the prescribed by, and this is the first and last name of the healthcare provider who prescribed this medication. So we have a sentence that begins, I am a patient of first name, last name, doctor first name and last name. It then goes on to add another hard-coded text string that says, with a leading space, and I am in need of a refill for my prescription for a trailing space, and we close off that second hard-coded text string. We then add the name of the medication for which we are requesting the prescription refill. This field came from here, the medication name field in the linked medications table. We then add another hard-coded text string. And of course, we're using the plus sign. We are literally adding strings together. We add another hard-coded text string that begins with the period at the end of this first sentence, and then goes on to say, I would appreciate it if the refill could be called into a trailing space. We close the text string, and then we add the name of the pharmacy. We put a period at the end of that second sentence, embed some hard-coded spaces, and then say thank you, and close with a period at the end of the last sentence, and close off that final text string with a double quotation. So this is the formula. This is the concatenation or the additive combination of hard-coded text strings enclosed in double quotes and references to the contents of fields that we see here in black. The hard-coded text strings appearing in red, the field references appearing in black, and also the operations, the plus sign appearing also in black. So this is what it looks like in terms of the parameters of the email field. What does this look like in operation? Looks exactly the way you'd expect it to look. I'm going to exit administrative mode, and I'm sitting here saying to myself, it's the end of December. I need to send a note to my doctor, or maybe I'm taking care of an elderly individual. I need to send a note to their doctor requesting a refill on the prescription. I just click this button, and there's my email. It is addressed to the doctor. The subject is a prescription refill request from Etzel Ford, from me. And it says, I am a patient of, now we're missing a name. In a moment, we're going to go back and put that name in so we can kind of reverse engineer it. You saw how we built the concatenated sentence that is the body of this email. In a minute, we'll go back and see where those components came from. I am the patient of, and we have a space here where the doctor's name will drop in, and I am in need of a refill of my prescription for this medication. Period. Next sentence. I would appreciate if the refill could be called into the corner pharmacy. Now, this here is the hard-coded text. The period after the name of the medication, all the way through the space right after the O in 2. Then it drops in the name of the pharmacy which is the content of the field where we have named the pharmacy where this prescription is fulfilled, and then one more hard-coded string, a period, a couple of spaces, the words thank you, and a closing period. So when we look at this smart field, we see the ability to capture an email address. That is the email address of the recipient, the email address that's going to receive the message that is composed when I click this icon. The recipient will see a message with this subject and this body. And you've also seen a moment ago, remember in those 7 very important lines of text that I've called the email engine? If we wanted to have an attachment, we now know how to do that also. So this is what it looks like behind the scenes. An email field that is holding the address of the recipient of the message that is composed. And when I click this icon, the composition, the message itself, is a pre-addressed email with the proper subject from me, the operator of the Nioxus system, with what just appears to be a very simple, standard combination of words and fields that make up 3 very simple sentences. I'm a patient of this doctor. I have been prescribed this medication. I'd appreciate it if you would call the medication into my pharmacy. The pharmacy is appropriately and specifically named. Thank you. There's one piece missing. Let's fill in the piece for the doctor. All right? I'm going to once again close this email. I don't need to save it. And let's drill down and see where we can fill in those missing pieces. We are here, and I'm going to exit administrative mode, in the patient table or the contact table. I am the patient. This is me. Or in this case, the person that I'm caring for, Etzel Ford. Now I'm going to drill down to his medication. And I'm going to see that this medication is part of the inventory of all of the medications that I take. All right? This particular medication was prescribed to me by a doctor, but we didn't name the doctor. Here is the field where we can identify the individual care provider who wrote the script, wrote the prescription for this particular medication. Because it's blank, we're not getting those names. So let's go ahead and say that this was prescribed to us by Dr. Seuss, Frank Seuss, MD. Now that we have connected the name of the healthcare provider that prescribed the medication to the medication itself, which is connected to this prescription, which is connected to us, the patient, watch what now happens. I go into my prescription. I click on the same icon in the email smart field, and now it says, I'm a patient of Frank Seuss. I'm in need of a refill for my prescription of this medication. My pharmacy is the corner pharmacy. Thank you. It looks like we typed it out, but Nioxus did all of the work for us. And all we would have to do is click the send button, and off this email would go. Now let's look at a different application of the same function. The function is, I want to send an email to somebody who is connected to my taking this or my patient's taking this medication. The person I'm caring for taking this medication. We see how we can click a single icon and request that the prescription itself be refilled for another 12 months. What if we have an active prescription and simply want our next 30-day or 60 or 90-day supply? We're not requesting a new prescription. We are requesting a refill of the existing prescription. A exact duplicate application of integrated email, but a slightly different message. And we can have a different message because we have a different email field. This time, when I click this icon, I get a message that says this. It is addressed to the pharmacy at themall.com. It is a prescription refill request from Etzel Ford for this medication from me that says, I'm currently a patient of Frank Seuss. He has prescribed this medication. I am currently in need of a refill on this prescription. My dosage has been prescribed as 1 pill every 5 days. Thank you. And all we have to do is click the send button and off the refill request goes. Formatted, addressed, ready to go. How did we do it? I think you know the answer. We set up, and I'm going to go re-enter administrative mode. I'm going to grab my wrench. We set up another email field. This is a smart field. The subject is a formula. It is the concatenated result of this hard-coded text string, prescription refill request from, with a trailing space, my first and last name separated with a hard-coded space, the hard-coded word for preceded and succeeded by a hard-coded space, and then the brand name of the medication that I'm asking for. Again, this is going to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist's email is already captured right here in the prescription refill request field. This email field that is capturing the address of the recipient who is to receive the email that will be composed when I click this button and then send it with the send function built into my email engine. And this is the Apple email engine, by the way. That's all there is to it. So let's review. We first had a completely manual email system, which required us to go into email, and I'm going to exit administrative mode, select new email, and manually fill out each individual component and click this icon, this button here, to pull the trigger, to send off the email. And the sending of the email is executed with these 9 crucially important lines of code. This is what we called manual email. Then we went to a semi-automated email application. We went into the contact record, pulled up a medication, and when I say semi-automated, what I mean was by using the parameters built into Nioxus that allow us to predefine in a formulaic way the subject and the body content of the email, I'm able to click a single button, this envelope icon right here, and boom, the email is composed. I call this semi-automatic because I still have to physically click the button to send the email. And we've composed emails to be sent to the physician or the care provider who prescribed the medication, and that is separate and different from the other email field that allows us to semi-automate the process of requesting a refill of the aforementioned prescription. This is semi-automated email. So where would we use fully automated email? Let me show you an example of that. Let us assume the following scenario. We have an elderly parent. They are self-sufficient. They live on their own. They take care of themselves. They take their medications. They drive. They go to doctor's appointments. They do everything they need to do to take care of themselves. But we just want to keep track and make sure that things are being done properly. We want to make sure they don't forget something. We want to make sure that everything is okay. And for this assumption, let us also assume we do not live with them. They are at a different physical location. All right? So, every day, this individual, this elderly parent, goes in and they make note of the fact that they have their prescriptions, and every day they go in and they take their prescriptions, they note the schedule, they can check off a box, the date and time, each day when they took their proper dosage of the prescription, and when they click the taken button, it automatically stamps the date and time when the medication was taken, Everything is going great. And every day they log into their system and they take their medications, they check on their doctor appointments. Fabulous. Except when they don't. They miss an appointment. They miss a particular prescription refill. Or they forget to take a dosage of their medication. We have built into this solution application, the medicine cabinet, a fully automated email function that alerts us that something is not right. How do we fully automate any function? We use a trigger on open. I'm going to enter administrative mode, go back to my desktop, and click on the Options tab. Again, if you don't see the Options tab, it's because you're not in administrative mode. The wrench in the top right-hand corner must be glowing red. You gotta have that super important Nioxus wrench in your hand. If your wrench is glowing red and you are at the desktop, you will see the Options tab. Go ahead and click on it. And here is the trigger after open. Any code blocks or snippets in this field will execute automatically every time somebody enters the database. In this case, what does this code block do? It looks at this if-then statement, and it asks itself, has the date when the medication was last taken, is it the correct date? Or is the not taken flag waving? If somebody did not take their medication today, then the taken flag will be down. They will not have checked the box, which means the medication was not taken. So if the medication was not taken today, then, and here are those 7 lines of code. And what do these 7 lines of code do for us? They create an email that is being sent, so I just make sure that they open their database every day. When they open their database, the database itself, Nioxus itself, automatically checks to make sure all medications are up to date, that they have taken all of the medications they should have taken as of this moment in time. This medication goes to my elderly parent, reminding them, you didn't take your medication. The medicine cabinet is reminding them, you didn't take your meds. It also is going to send an email to me, the emergency contact for this individual. And it's going to tell me that, dear Andy, and here's my first name and my last name, it has come to my attention that your father, your parent, and here's their first and last name in this block here, they forgot to take their medication on, and it gives me the name of the medication and the date when they forgot to take it. And then it concatenates another sentence or a hard-coded sentence that says, please check in and make sure everything is okay, with a line break, and again it says, thank you, the medicine cabinet. So, what do we have here? We started with a fully manual email operation. We fill out everything manually, one field at a time. We click the send button. Then we had a semi-automated email function. Nioxus fills everything out for us. We click the button and it gets sent. Here is a fully automated email function. Nioxus composes 2 emails, one to the person who is supposed to take the medication, and one to the emergency contact of the person who is supposed to take the medication. And the email is basically coming from the medicine cabinet, and it is saying, you didn't take your medication when you were supposed to. This is a warning. Do something. Now, we could have enhanced this with alerts, with things popping up in all caps and red letters saying, warning, warning, you didn't take your medication this morning, you didn't take your medication last night. This can get very, very sophisticated. But the point is, here we see a fully automated, integrated email function. Nioxus decides if the email needs to be composed using this if-then. If it needs to be composed, Nioxus composes it and finally sends it. And here we see the two emails being sent. Here is the send email, the email engine that sends the email to the patient. And here's a repeat of those important 9 lines of code, or actually it's 7 lines of code, where it's sending an email to the emergency contact of the person who didn't take the medication. What happens if they don't log in to the database? Remember, this trigger is only activated upon open. Trigger after open. That micro nanosecond after someone enters the Nioxus database, this trigger gets pulled, the emails get checked, and fired off if necessary. But what happens if nobody entered the database? The absence of your daily message is your warning that something is not right. So we might have enhanced this trigger to not only send an email if the medications were not taken, but maybe it would also send us an email only to the emergency contact telling us the medications were taken. And now what we would do is we could go into the medication schedule, and here we have this taken button, this yes, no, which the person taking or administering the medication needs to check off. When they check it, there can be a trigger. We could use those 7 very important lines of code that make up that email engine I've been talking about. When this field is checked or turned on, the trigger not only updates the date and time the medication was taken, but it automatically fires off an email to the emergency contact saying this person just indicated that they took this medication at this date and time. And if all of a sudden you stop getting those notifications, you know to dial the phone, to rush over to the house, to have someone check in and make sure everything is okay. The medicine cabinet is a new solution that lots of people have been asking for. It's in the member portal. You can go ahead and download it with your paid Nioxus membership. But more importantly, this integrated email capability, whether it's completely manual, semi-automated, or fully automated, it automatically goes out and finds our email application on our computer, fires it up, addresses the email, fills in the subject matter, puts in the body of the email, attaches things when they need to be attached, and even clicks the send button for us if we want to take it to that level. Remember the email engine. It looked like this. It was these 7 important lines of code that begin with send email and contain all of the parameters and keywords for what is going to be in the email, the contents, the construct of the email. That is the automated engine. This engine can be attached to any number of triggers. The trigger can be a button, as we see here. It could be a field, something that we click, which automatically makes emails go out. Or it could be a trigger at a table level, or a trigger at the database level, the Nioxus level, where it says every time someone comes and goes in this database, pull the trigger, check the system, see if emails need to be sent, and if they need to be sent, go ahead and send them. And that is the medicine cabinet, and that is email integration in Nioxus. I hope you've enjoyed our class. I hope you've learned something. I hope you'll go to the member portal and download the medicine cabinet. And if you're not using it to manage your medications, at least take a look at the email integration features that we've built into it. I think you'll find them very useful. You literally can copy and paste them right into your own apps. And just like that, your Ninox solutions will be fully integrated with whatever email engine you're using. Thank you so much for joining us in this class. Make sure to tune in next week when we'll have a new video here on the Ninox Learning Channel. We'll have a brand new application in the member portal, and we'll have new features and new functions and all sorts of exciting and powerful new things to talk about here at Nioxus. Thanks for joining us. Go out and build yourself a great Ninox database, do some email integration, and come back and see us again real soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.